Hi everyone, Goji Guy here to talk about a shmup I've kind of got mixed feelings about, the iconic Metal Black. I've got a 1cc guide to go over, but first I'd like to give a bit of context and history about the game. Metal Black released in 1991 on the Taito F1 arcade board and is probably the most famous game made for that specific board. It was directed by Takatsuno Senba, who was also responsible for Gun Frontier and later Dino Rex. Senba was originally an animation director who famously worked on Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack. When he started at Taito, he worked on various projects as a sprite artist until he started design work on the bosses for Darius 2. Metal Black was actually started before Gun Frontier, despite releasing after it, and the game was at one point being considered Darius 3 with a 2-screen arcade cabinet. But those plans were scrapped. The game was made in a mere 6 months and is still fondly remembered to this day for its incredible visual presentation, fantastic music, and exciting beam system. The game also has a fairly intricate story, a common thread of Takatsuno Senba's games, but a lot of it is hidden in supplemental materials like interviews and a 4-part manga. So without further ado, on to the run. Alright, so just to go over some of the basics of the game, you've got your main shot button and you've got your beam button. And when you collect these blue, red, and yellow orbs flying around the screen, these are called new alone, they will increase your shot level, your beam level. You can see that on the bottom left corner of the screen. And when it's maxed out, it can unleash a pretty powerful beam weapon. You can actually shoot a beam with it at pretty much any power level. But when it's maxed out, it's at its most powerful and it can create a big aura around your ship. Now, it's important to note that in reality, shot level 3 is probably the most damage you can do in the game. It's the most powerful, especially if you've got Autofire on. And there's no score bonus for using the beam. Now, I was playing this with 20 Hz Autofire because I kind of thought that that would be close to what it's like to play the game without Autofire. This game doesn't really have built-in Autofire. It's strange. When you press the shot button on, say, like a regular arcade cabinet without Autofire, it'll start off pretty fast, probably around 15 or 20 hertz, and then it'll gradually slow down to like something like 5 hertz. It's weird. It means that you kind of have to mash the button at a strange pace. Yeah, I mean, you don't really need to play this game with Autofire, but it's much more consistent with it, because if you're mashing at that weird pace, there's a higher chance that enemies will, duck between shots and things like that. So if it's your first time playing, I definitely recommend just going right to 30 Hz Autofire. If you want to play for score, you're going to need to use 30 Hz anyways. So it's pretty straightforward in terms of controls, really that's it. You can unleash the beam in 2 ways, like I kind of alluded to earlier. You can shoot it forward just by holding the beam button. It'll just be a powerful beam, does a lot of damage. Or if you let go of that beam button and you can hold the shot button, it'll unleash a aura effect around you. I'm going to use that in the next stage. So the first stage is pretty straightforward. The game is pretty memo heavy. You do have to memorize a lot of enemy placements and stuff. Despite that, it also has a lot of elements determined by random number generation, which can be kind of frustrating. This is a good example of that, are these bonus stages. So your goal here is just to target, lock on, and shoot down these robots. But where they spawn and how they move is unpredictable. Sometimes you get lucky and you get a bunch really close to each other, one after the other. sometimes they will just decide to go off camera, and you gotta wait for them to come back on. Not a good caravan game, I will say that. But for the most part, you can pretty consistently get through these. You won't be able to get all the bonus points consistently, which is a shame because you can use those to get extends a little earlier than usual. Not a big deal if you aren't playing for score. So stage 2 is a bit of a difficulty bump from the previous stage, but it's a good way to showcase some of the finer elements of Metal Black that are good to know about and good to master if you want to clear this game. And the most important there is the way that your ship's perk box is, how big it is. So it is quite long. I mean, this is a game from the 90s, the early 90s. It's quite long, but it's actually quite thin. And your shot, as you power it up, gets bigger and bigger to the point where you've kind of got an aura around your ship along the top and bottom that extends beyond what you see. And I use that to great effect in this stage. So there are these enemies that appear from the top and bottom of the screen. There are these star-like enemies, these things here, these purple things. And they might trip you up because, yeah, their spawn points and their movements are not predictable. You have to react to them. But the nice thing is that your ship has this aura around it when you've got a 5 beam level. So you can pretty much let them go right into the hull of your ship. You should be protected. The only place you aren't protected is right at the very back, so you can't back into a shot like that or back into an enemy like that. A part of this stage that trips a lot of people up comes after this. And if you're playing for survival, I've got a pretty consistent way to do it. So there's going to be some enemies here. These ones are nice and easy and memorizable. You can just remember where they come from and take them out before they do any damage. So once these 2 rocket ships show up, you want to head to the back bottom left corner of the screen. Take out that one bottom enemy, and then you just want to crawl along all the way to the right and then all the way back. And that's going to kite those enemies to unleash their shots. And once that moon, the visual cue is when the moon appears on the right hand side of the screen, unleash a full burst aura attack with the beam, and that'll take care of any of those remaining ships. This is a pretty consistent way to get through this, and it actually does get you a decent amount of points because it destroys a lot of those ships. So here I am, I'm at shot level 3 again. It's just dealing the most damage, and I just want to kill this boss quickly. If I was playing for score, this is a great boss to milk because it kind of spawns these orbs that are worth a decent amount of points. This boss is also pretty predictable and pretty reasonable to master. There is one behavior that it does where it's actually, instead of moving on a predetermined path, it is hunting for new alone, and things can get a little dangerous there. I don't let him reach that stage, but if that happens, you got to be careful because if you're near a new alone, they'll just rush right towards you. One thing that I really love about this game is the music, which is actually synchronized to what you see in the stage. It's a pretty early example of that kind of composing. It's quite breathtaking. It's another good example of where I'm using my slim perk box and the really big hitbox of the higher level shot to take out enemies quickly. These enemies you really want to take out as soon as they spawn, because they will start spawning loads of bullets, especially those ones that come from the back, and that's where I'm taking advantage of just how this ship's hurt box works. Another place where you're making good use of that slim hurt box and the size of your shot along the top and bottom of your ship. I'm gonna kill this guy pretty quick, otherwise he'll try to close this piece of space station on you, I guess. You actually wouldn't die though, because again your ship's hurt box is really quite slim. And coming up here, you're going to see some bubble enemies. This is another example of kind of the weird stuff that this game does. So these bubbles here, they have a chance of turning into almost any enemy in the game, and that can be a little problematic and unpredictable to deal with. So here I'm just trying to watch for when those turrets are firing and just using the cover to try to stay away from all that stuff. And then I'm using my another burst here, as enemies spawning at both ends of the screen can be a little tricky to deal with. And again, I'm gonna get up to shot level 3. That nicely gets me ready to be in shot level 3. Take out the beetle enemy using that shot. The beetle boss, such a weird boss. So you really want to destroy that. Well, it's a dung beetle, I guess. It's a dung ball. You want to destroy that dung ball. This is a safe spot, but once that dung ball forms, you want to move out of the way or it's going to shoot at you. If you power up and try to shoot lasers at this thing, it will shoot lasers back, and oftentimes it's a little unpredictable and it'll win. So I recommend you just stick to this method. It's much more consistent. Destroy the dung ball as it goes up, and then keep shooting at the beetle. And if you had 30 Hz Autofire, this battle will go even quicker, so keep that in mind. And the second bonus stage. I think we're in a black hole. One thing you can do with these bonus stages is where your cursor spawns is always at the same spot every time you enter a bonus stage, and then wherever it will appear after a shot is where you last left it. So you can kind of keep track of that. Like, okay, I just put my cursor in the bottom left quadrant of the screen. Keep your eye there for when it lets you shoot again. So far I'm doing okay on this one. Could be better. Haven't had the best luck, but been able to respond reasonably well. Yeah, that was a tricky one. When it does that DVD corner, you know, the DVD sleep menu, like bouncing off the corner thing, that's the worst. Oh, the worst is when they just go off screen. That can and does happen. I don't think that happens this time though. There we go, not bad. Some nice extra bonus points there. I think I'll be getting another extend. Yeah, I should be. You'll hear a shrill kind of beeping at the start of the stage. There we go. So now I've got 4 lives. Now this stage can be pretty tricky. The gimmick here is that these bubbles will encapsulate your ship and they will block your shot. You kind of have to shoot through them. And that can be really bad because there's a lot of these kind of unpredictable enemies with these strange movement patterns. If you're not paying attention, you can really easily get got by number of things going on. I mean, look at that. That was all kind of just lucky. That was some pretty suspicious off-route dodging and luck. I don't think I was really positioned very well there, but you can see that enemies will just spawn at the back of the screen and immediately fire a shot. And I don't even know if it's really all that reactable. And that's just kind of part of the game. I mean, the developers did say that they knew there were many issues with the game when they released it, but they just had no time to fix them. They didn't even do any playtesting, apparently. So it's actually surprising that it's this memorable and this well loved that long after it's come out. Here's another memo spot. If you don't get in there, oh, there's another random thing. I've been playing. This took me 15 hours to get this 1cc. I'd never had that happen before, where an enemy just hit a wall and slammed right down into me. So that's just another element of the kind of unpredictable movements that some of these enemies can give. I'm using my beam aura there to make sure that I want to be at shot level 4 for the boss. These spider enemies can be pretty annoying, but you can actually kite them. They will only shoot at a certain angle, like I think it's like a 45-degree angle above or below you. So you can kind of take advantage of that and position yourself so that they won't shoot it. They'll keep walking and then sneak up behind them and take them out. Alright, so stage 4 boss. I think this is probably the trickiest boss. You know, I'm going for a speed kill in one cycle. If I was trying to milk this thing, or if I was playing totally without Autofire, I think this is the hardest boss. It's just a weird boss fight. So here I am doing damage, and then I'm unleashing my beam after the boss has already unleashed their beam. I'm just trying to deal enough damage that I can kill it on the next cycle, but I don't want it to enter its next phase. So you can tell I've done the right amount of damage because I'm still in the mode where like screws fall out of the bottom of the ship. If you're not careful and you do too much damage, it'll enter the next phase, and that might be a little trickier to kill. So now I should be at my max beam level. I'm just going to be shooting away, biding my time for these lasers or these beams to fizzle out, and then I'm going to hit it with my laser. I'm going to turn it into an aura at the end, and I've done just enough damage that it's toast. Alright, stage 5 can also be a pretty tricky stage. Right out the gate, it hits you with really fast-moving enemies that are firing a lot of bullets. So you really want to be on top of that. It's a lot of save state practicing. I am playing the Arcade Archives version of the game, which doesn't really have save states, but it sort of does. For a bit, I actually practiced on the Egret 2 Mini because it does have save states. It has better features than the ACA version. Those insects you saw me shooting, those are little bugs that will attach onto your ship and they will slow you down. Any of these ceiling walkers, so you want to destroy those bugs, you also want to destroy any of these walkers on the ceilings and floors. They can be really annoying. They can just, see that one comes in out of nowhere and tries to get you. And there was a silly mistake on my part. That guy snuck up from behind and I wasn't in the right position, didn't really react well. That's okay because I'm almost at another extend. And these enemies, these kind of spike balls, where they spawn is determined by forces we are not allowed to know. So watch out, try to stick to a safe, maneuverable part of the screen to be able to see them and react to them. See, later on, I get in a bad place in the next stage, and I just couldn't do anything about it. I wasn't in a good spot to be able to deal with them. I think it's right here, actually. Yeah, it's stuck in there. Should have moved forward, but oh well. Alright, now we're at the next boss. Again at shot level 3. It's important to note with this boss is that the appendage that it has here, that thing, that if it touches you will hurt you. But its tongue, when it's trying to eat Nualone, will not hurt you. So I accidentally got some Nualone there, so I'm just going to collect more until I get to shot level 5, because that's more powerful than shot level 4. I'm just going to avoid the beam. I'm not going to try to beam battle. Beam battling doesn't give you any bonus points. It looks cool. Sometimes it's fun to do. But there isn't really a reason to do it in this game. It's not like G Darius. There we go, on to the final stage. Really beautiful intro. I really love the visuals in this game and the tone and the atmosphere. Maybe even more than like the gameplay. So these guys, they spawn more enemies as you destroy them. Here I noticed that I was just gonna get messed up by what that bubble decided to turn into, so I just kind of used my beam as a kind of panic bomb, and you can do that if you have enough shot level. You really do want to make sure those spider walkers on the floors and ceilings are taken out care of early, no matter what stage you're in. There I got lucky with where that enemy spawned. Just thankfully it spawned in a way that I could shoot it through the stalactite there. There have been times where it's just been in a position where you have to basically use your beam to hit it. You want to destroy these, I guess, remnants of the first boss as quick as you can. They can be pretty nasty if they're left alive. Yeah, another death there. Just got overwhelmed. And that's okay. I should also mention, dying in this game is not the worst thing, because there are no bonuses for having lives at the end of the game. It's not like Darius. So, I mean, yeah, you don't want to die because you want to have more chances, but it's kind of refreshing in that if you die, you don't just have to be like, oh man, I blew it, like I gotta start over. Even if you're playing for score, just keep playing, play out the credit. Here's the final boss. So, shot level 3 again, highest DPS. You can touch the boss, you can make contact with it, it's not going to hurt you at all. The only thing is that core that you're shooting, that can hurt you, so do watch out for that. What I'm trying to do here is just deal as much damage to that thing as possible, making sure both shots are hitting it, just to try to skip phases. Otherwise, it will start, its tail will come out and you'll have to deal with its tail. Now, if I was playing for score, I'd want to be milking those, I don't know what you call them, marble centipede things that it spawns. Those are worth a lot of points. Here, avoiding this is a little bit tricky. You kind of have to pay attention to how the body is swaying and move counter to it. It gives you a bunch of new to learn as well. There's the cat. I believe that's actually one of the programmer's cats. And there it is. Done. So yeah, this 1cc took me a lot longer than I expected it to. Even though I think G-Darius is probably like a harder game, it's a much more predictable game. So I was able to clear G-Darius way quicker than I was able to clear this. I think it took me 10 hours for G-Darius, and this took me 15. But it's such a interesting, unique, beautiful game. I remember I first encountered it in an arcade years ago, and ever since then I always wanted a copy of it. On my last trip to Japan, I picked up the Taito Memories that has it. Finally got to play that, but I also got an Egret 2 Mini, which has it on there, and then the Arcade Archives release. When that came out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna clear this game. And thanks to the RF Generation Shmup Club, I had a bunch of other people also playing to clear the game. So I'm kind of mixed on this game. I mean, I really love the visuals, I really love the tone, and I do genuinely enjoy the mechanics. The unpredictability of certain parts, the kind of, you might call janky elements of it, are unfortunate. I almost feel like if this game had an arrange mode that kind of cleaned up the bonus stages, made scoring more consistent, a little more interesting, I'd probably keep playing it. At this point, I'm not sure if I'll keep playing for score. I might come back to it, but right now I'm just happy with getting my first clear. So all in all, I definitely recommend this game. Just know what you're getting into. It is an older shmup. It is a little bit memorization heavy. It can be pretty unfair at times. But it has one of the best soundtracks in video games, in my opinion. Really beautiful visuals and a tone that's unlike any other shmup I know of. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, I think the ACA version is $10. I definitely recommend it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.